Forward to a handful of folks trying not to fast. We'll break our fast this evening. Some folks have probably come and gone and done their thing, but we brought some food tonight, and we'll invite everybody out to join us afterwards. Let's grab our. Well, I was going to say grab your hymnal, but we don't. There's page 66 if you want, or look to that screen and stand up. And we're going to be in At Calvary. Brother Jim.
Years I spent in vanity and pride, caring not my Lord was crucified, knowing not it was for me He died on Calvary. Mercy there was great and grace was free, pardon there was multiplied to me. There my burden so found liberty at Calvary. By God's word at last my sin I learned, then I trembled at the law I spurned, till my guilty soul imploring turned to Calvary. Mercy there was great and grace was free, pardon there was multiplied to me. There my burden so found liberty at Calvary. Oh, the love that drew salvation's plan. Oh, the grace that brought it down to man. Oh, the mighty gulf that God did span at Calvary. Mercy there was great and grace was free, pardon there was multiplied to me. There my burden so found liberty at Calvary.
I know there's one more, but we're going to go ahead and just do the three there. I'm trying to move the service along tonight, so we have some extra time for prayer. But we are going to sing this new song we've been introducing to the folks, and sing along if you can. As you know it, Come Jesus Come.
Sometimes I fall to my knees and pray, come Jesus come, let today be the day. Sometimes I feel like I'm gonna break, but I'm holding on to a hope that won't fade. Come, Jesus, come. We've been waiting so long for the day you return to heal every hurt and right every wrong. We need you right now. Come and turn this around. Deep down I know this world isn't home. Come, Jesus, come. There'll be no war, and there'll be no chains when Jesus comes. Let today be the day. He'll come for the weak and the strong just the same, and all will believe in the power of His name. Come, Jesus, come. We've been waiting so long for the day you return to heal every hurt and right every wrong. We need you right now. Come and turn this come, Jesus, come. One day he'll come, and we'll stand face to face. Come lay it down, 'cause it might be today. The time is right now. There's no need to wait. Your past will be washed by the power of His grace. Come, Jesus, come. We've been waiting so long for the day you return to heal every hurt and right every wrong. We need you right now. Come and turn this around. 'Cause deep down I know this world isn't home. So come, Jesus, come. Come, Jesus, come. Come, Jesus, come.
All right, you can all be seated. Tonight we have video. It's about 20 minutes long. We spend the rest of the time in prayer for about a half an hour. Looking forward to it. I know we brought a meal tonight for those of you folks that are hungry. We invite you all to that afterwards. Just a couple quick announcements. We just like you to think about something in the future. That would be our Valentine's banquet, and we are planning that to have that on a Wednesday night as a Wednesday night service. There's going to be something for the kids at another location, and so we're looking forward to having that. And if you're interested in being a part of that, you start thinking about that. We're going to have a sign-up sheet in the next couple of weeks there. We wanted to put that out. Again, the whole Valentine's thing, anybody's welcome, single. We're loving the Lord that evening, so we like to celebrate. If you like a great meal, it's probably going to be Italian food this year. Been reaching out to caterers and checking availability, and so we're looking toward that. And I think that as the most affordable we could get it with catering nowadays is about $25 a plate. So that is just a suggestion. If that doesn't work for you, you just, if you think it's worth $10 to do that and just come, or if you don't have it, that's great. We want to have everybody there. If they want to come, we'll be exclusive, but that's kind of the suggestion amount per person, and we're planning that right now. So just be thinking about that. You'll see a sign-up sheet about 2 weeks from now, and that's going to be on February 11th on that Wednesday night. All right, also this week we are planning to host a little bit, so you can do us a great favor to clean up, to take as much of your stuff with you. I want to encourage you, please do not leave anything here or you will be sorry. Yeah, I know, we're having a wedding here, so there will be a wedding here after Sunday. Okay, so after Sunday night, they're going to come in here, all these chairs go in the other room. All of the youth rooms will be taken down and set up for a wedding, and then that's all going to be put back. All this is a ton of movement. You would help us a lot if you would take your extra coat that you leave here every week and blankets. It's probably not a great idea to leave those things here. We'll try to keep everything together if we can, but there'll be a lot of people we don't know here, so we just want to help with that. It is not a wedding from inside of our church or someone related to. It's just the new associate pastor or the new staff member there at First Baptist Church is getting married, and they loved our church, so they asked if they'd come down and do that here. So they're going to be here, and that will be next Tuesday. All right? So just kind of a warning there, and that's it in my announcements. Let's get right into the video. This one, and from Unlocking Genesis, is dealing with the Ice Age. So I hope you'll enjoy it. I hope you'll take some notes, and it'll give you a different perspective, and then we'll get right into prayer. frozen for a minute, Beverly? All right. Let's do this. We haven't really opened fur, have we? Why don't we go ahead and have Brother Charlie, will you open some fur? And I'll try to do what I can for you.
Dear Heavenly Father, as we come before you this evening, we just thank you, Lord, for this day that you gave us. Thank you for this gathering here once again tonight. We just pray that if there's anybody still coming, that you will watch over them and bring them on in. And the ones that aren't here, keep them safe, keep them well. And I pray for our pastor tonight that you'll give him the word that you'd have him give us. And watch over us, keep us safe and well. In Jesus' holy name I pray. Amen.
Most of us have been taught that there was an ice age that profoundly influenced the Earth's climate, caused mass extinctions, and even altered the way civilization developed. But when it happened, and why it happened, remains a mystery. Was there an ice age? Were there many? Did they last thousands or even millions of years? And what caused them? Welcome to Unlocking the Mysteries of Genesis. Have you ever wondered what the Ice Age was like? When you hear the term Ice Age, you might think of snow as far as the eye can see. Now, evidence of at least one Ice Age is abundant. Where glaciers once were, you see boulders, rocks, and dirt, which indicate the path of debris the glacier left behind as it moved. By these debris fields, or glacier moraines, scientists have determined that huge glaciers covered large areas of most continents. Most scientists agree that an ice age was the last major geologic event to happen on this planet. Some theories even suggest that the ice age contributed to the extinction of the dinosaurs. But differences of opinion exist on the number of ice ages there were, and when, and for how long. U.S. News and World Report even call the cause of the ice age one of the great mysteries of science. But why is there such a vast difference of opinion of whether there was one ice age, or many ice ages, or when they happened? The reason secular scientists hold to the idea that there were multiple ice ages over millions of years is that they have to in order to make their theories about everything else work. Whether it relates to geology, or fossils, or evolution, or the ice age, uniformitarian thinking requires an Earth calendar that goes back billions of years. Just one ice age doesn't fit their timeline for the age of the Earth. If they acknowledge that there was but one ice age not that long ago, all of their other theories based on long Earth ages would crumble too. Creation scientists, on the other hand, believe the evidence shows that the ice age can happen quickly and probably lasted only a few hundred years, which matches the biblical timeline, and confirms again that the Earth can be radically and quickly altered by a global catastrophe such as Noah's flood. Let's head to Alaska to explore some of the evidence for ourselves. Here we are on the Matanuska Glacier, a 27-mile-long river of ice in south-central Alaska. Secular scientists believe that glaciers like these formed hundreds of thousands and even millions of years ago. But we'll see that what we believe about how and when these glaciers formed, and when one or more ice ages occurred, Remember, secular scientists typically take a uniformitarian point of view that assumes geological processes went gradual, slow, unfolding over thousands or millions of years. Creation scientists, on the other hand, believe that geological processes can happen rapidly as the result of very high energy processes. We'll explore the evidence from both schools of thought as they apply to the mystery of the Ice Age. First, let's hear the secular perspective.
The secular theorists believe there have been at least 5 major ice ages throughout Earth history that have lasted, in some cases, tens of millions of years. The most recent of these supposedly began about 2.6 million years ago, and they think that within this most recent ice age, you had these smaller ice ages, these glacial cycles. So currently, they think there's been about 50 of these small ice ages, if you will, these glacial cycles within the last 2.6 million years.
To arrive at these theories about ice ages, scientists study glaciers, among other evidence. Glaciers are massive bodies of dense ice that are constantly moving under their own weight. As you'd imagine, they grow when the amount of snow in any given year exceeds the amount of melting, and shrink back, of course, when there's more melting than snow. To determine whether a glacier has undergone this cycle of expanding and retreating over time, some of the things scientists look at are the patterns of debris in glacial moraines.
When you look at the types of soil on the surfaces where there have been ice ages, there appear to be places where the ice moved and then stopped, melted back, left a certain type of soil, and then moved out again and back.
So, in addition to studying glacial debris, scientists also theorize about glacial periods by examining ice cores. In this method, scientists drill deep into the ice and take samples of ice from polar and low-latitude mountain glaciers to analyze the chemical composition of all the layers of ice. Indicators like the amount and type of oxygen isotopes, the concentration of methane, and the amount of dust gives clues about the climate during each cycle. The uniformitarian view is that each layer of ice cores represents 1 year. And by this measure, they've estimated that the Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets are millions of years old. But what even causes these cycles with long periods of ice formation and then long periods with a lack of snowfall and the ice melts? That's a question that scientists have been wrestling with for years. In fact, secular scientists offer over 60 ice age theories. There's clearly no consensus on what causes an ice age, but currently the astronomical theory is the most popular explanation.
Basically, the idea is that the Earth, as it's going around the sun, you have its rotational axis, and the orientation of that axis changes very slowly over time. And not only that, but the shape of the Earth's orbit changes slightly over time as well. And so that results in these very subtle changes in the amount of sunlight that's falling in the mid to high northern latitudes during the summer months.
During that period of time, there will be more ice accumulating, with more snow. As it accumulates, as it spreads out, becomes more coverage over the continents, the surface of the ice reflects more radiation to space during the daytime, and at night it emits infrared radiation to space more effectively. Both of those cause cooling, which causes more ice to form, and so the ice age will accumulate, and then suddenly the orbital parameters will shift enough that suddenly there's more sun and it melts very quickly.
Based on physical evidence like glacial moraines, chemical analysis of layers of microorganisms that comprise seafloor sediments, and ice cores, uniformitarians believe that there have been multiple ice ages over long stretches of time. But there are some problems with these methods of measuring the age of ice. Secular scientists have acknowledged that the astronomical theory cannot by itself explain ice ages. You have to assume that some other unknown mechanisms can amplify these small changes enough to actually cause an ice age. But they have not, to date, figured out what this mechanism is. So there's more we need to understand before we can really settle on the astronomical theory as a likely explanation. There are also some issues with the way secular scientists measure ice cores. On the surface, it appears to make sense. Popular accounts give the impression that the dating of ice cores is quite simple. You just visually identify layers and count them. The reality is much more complicated.
In practice, it's a lot more difficult than simply counting these seasonal variations that you see in the ice cores, because those layers become indistinct as you go deeper into the ice. So they have to use something called this flow model that tells you how the ice thins with increasing depth. And those flow models have assumptions built into them. And basically, those assumptions assume that the ice sheets have been in existence for millions of years and that they've had more or less the same height for all that time. And so those models predict that you're going to get this enormous amount of thinning as you go deeper in the ice. And so naturally, you're just going to end up from that model with a very large number of annual layers.
One might make the assumption that colder winters are the catalyst for an ice age. But there's one big problem with that notion. Extremely cold temperatures generally result in less, not more, snowfall. Cold air has less moisture. Less moisture means less snow. Look at some of the very cold places on the Earth today. Even here in Alaska, the summers are too warm for a glacier to form. Warm summers would be a problem for any ice age, since they would melt any ice sheets or glaciers that were starting to form. Numerous theories focus on the decrease of temperature due to secular assumptions of uniformitarianism. In reality, a combination of several things have to happen to create an ice age. Let's head back to the cozy, warm lab to discuss this. To create an ice age, first we need heat. Let's say that tectonic friction and underwater volcanoes raise the temperature of the oceans by 10 to 20 degrees Celsius. Then, as the oceans warm, more water evaporates. More moisture in the air means more precipitation, including more snowfall at mid and high latitudes. Then, eruptions from volcanoes on the land eject aerosols into the stratosphere. These tiny solid particles and liquid droplets block and reflect the sun's rays back into space. Moisture from evaporation gets trapped in, while energy from the sun gets trapped out. The result? Cooler summers when the winter snow doesn't melt, followed by winters when more snow falls. As the snow packs down, the pockets of air in between the ice crystals get squeezed out, and what's left is ice. As this cycle continues, the ice sheets continue to grow, and then you have an ice age. You can remember this cycle by the acronym HEAT. H for hot oceans, E for evaporation, A for aerosols, and T for time. So to make an ice age, we need hot oceans, evaporation, aerosols, and time. Less time than you'd think. But what could cause the oceans to heat up that much and throw aerosols into the atmosphere high enough to block the sun's rays? Creation scientists attribute it to a catastrophe of global proportions, Noah's flood. Could Noah's flood have created the right conditions for an ice age to follow? By looking at one example from the recent past, we can see how just one big volcanic eruption can throw enough aerosols into the air to block the sun's rays and lower the surface temperature of the Earth for an extended period. Here's what happened. In June of 1991, on Luzon Island in the Philippines, the dormant stratovolcano Mount Pinatubo suddenly erupted. The eruption sent approximately 10 billion tons of volcanic ash and debris miles into the sky. The eruption was several times larger than the one at Mount St. Helens. Fragmented materials from the explosion were so vast they covered the south plunged the island of Luzon into total darkness. Aerosols reached high into the stratosphere. The increased amounts of ash and sulfuric acid from the eruption caused a roughly 1 degree Fahrenheit decrease in temperature around the world for about 2 years. In August of 1991, the space shuttle captured dramatic pictures of 2 stratospheric aerosol layers from the Mount Pinatubo eruption. Many scientists who believe in the Bible explain the Ice Age as the result of catastrophic events such as what happened in the Philippines. When I say catastrophic, I mean, man, try to get your head around the sight of volcanoes and other explosions with the power of nuclear bombs detonating all over the world at the same time. And imagine that massive energy. Energy like the planet hadn't experienced since creation. Now picture hundreds of Mount Pinatubos erupting at the same time. Whew, talk about energy. Creation scientists believe that during Noah's flood, powerful energy was generated not only from massive storms, but by volcanism, earthquakes, and massive shifting of the planet's tectonic plates. Evidence of volcanic and tectonic potential this destructive can be found literally around the planet.
The heating of the ocean, we believe, came from magma coming from the mantle up through the plates in the ocean. That would have caused tremendous heating to the ocean, as much as a temperature of 90 degrees Fahrenheit. That would have produced tremendous evaporation, energizing of storms, hurricanes, and producing snow and ice in the polar regions and on mountaintops.
Another example from recent history shows that it doesn't take millions of years to form a thick glacier. Crater Glacier on Mount St. Helens is already over 300 feet thick, despite the fact that it's only been forming since the 1980 eruption. Today, secular and creation scientists agree that warming oceans contribute to changing weather patterns. All you have to do is turn on the TV to see evidence that storms are more severe in some areas, while other areas are experiencing record-setting heat and drought. Could the destruction of Noah's flood be catastrophic enough to cause a worldwide change in climate? Enough to cause one ice age? Creation scientists think it's entirely plausible, and they're using sophisticated computer modeling to prove it.
When the heat came up from the plates in the oceans, it caused the oceans to become very warm, and it would be like a giant El Nino effect. Well, can you imagine if the oceans were 20, 30, 40 degrees warmer than they are today? We would expect all kinds of severe weather, gigantic hurricanes, which I call hypercanes, and this would produce all kinds of evaporation into the atmosphere, which could then come out as snow in the polar regions and on mountaintops. I've modeled that with conventional models with a sea surface temperature hotter than we would normally experience today. When that happens, these models predict much, much greater precipitation rates, particularly in the polar regions and on mountaintops. And we can explain the Ice Age in less than 500 years simply by the warmth of the ocean.
So if you take a look at destruction caused by recent tsunamis, mudslides, volcanoes, and earthquakes, it's not hard to imagine the destruction that Noah's flood caused. Imagine that everywhere you step was at one time underwater. When Noah and his family were finally able to step on land again, the Earth's surface was probably more like a giant mudslide. Then you add an enormous amount of aerosol particles from explosive volcanic eruptions, preventing solar radiation from warming the Earth. There would have been a massive cooling effect that would have been most pronounced during the summer and autumn months. This would have prevented the snow from melting, resulting in more and more snow. The result was the Ice Age. Man, how people must have struggled to survive during that time. It's almost unimaginable. But humans and civilization did survive the worldwide catastrophe, thanks to Noah and his obedience. And from that small group of people, civilization was rebuilt. So how did humans survive? In the creation model, there were not multiple brutal ice ages that lasted thousands of years, as secular models theorize. It was just one. And while it probably was not a whole lot of fun for the people living in it, it wasn't as bad as you think.
The Ice Age would not have been equally severe everywhere. Even at their greatest extent, it probably would have only covered maybe 30% of the Earth's Earth's land surface. And at lower latitudes, you would have had some areas that would have been very lush. So it's not going to be equally severe everywhere. There's going to be some places where it's quite temperate, and it's not such a bad thing. Some people may have lived, for instance, at the edges of those ice sheets in Europe and places like that. And so it might have been a little bit harsh in some cases, but for the creation model of the Ice Age is a lot more tolerable than the uniformitarian model.
So when we hear that glaciers are melting, and when we see increasingly violent storms creating massive destruction, should we be worried? All I can say is that you can take comfort in what God said in the 8th chapter of Genesis. I will never again curse the ground for man's sake, although the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Nor will I again destroy every living thing as I have done. God placed a sign in the sky after the flood as a promise that he would not destroy the earth again by flood. I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. And why is that important? It's another example of how God fulfills his covenant. Remember what God promised to Noah. Genesis 9:1 tells us, God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Even secular scientists agree that the glaciation during the Ice Age caused the sea levels to drop, revealing bridges of land between continents. They also agree that as these ice sheets expanded, they forced humans and animals to migrate to warmer latitudes in order to survive. Could this have just been coincidence? I like to think it was just God's way of helping mankind fulfill his command. Now, we've seen some pretty convincing evidence that the effects of Noah's flood could have caused the Ice Age. And as technology advances, we are learning more and more about how science confirms the truths of Scripture. The world can be a cold place when you go at it alone. But with God, there's always a shelter from the storm. After the Lord destroyed the earth by a catastrophic flood, because Noah was faithful to God's word, the Lord gave humanity a second chance on earth. By letting Noah and his family live to repopulate the earth, God's gift of grace was given to mankind. It's because of his grace that you and I are here today. Join me next time as we take a fascinating look at how ancient civilization began again after Noah's flood. We'll ask a lot more questions, and we'll find the answers together as we continue to unlock the mysteries of Genesis.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight. Got a nice full house, and we're looking forward to a time of prayer. I hope you learned something. I hope young people were taking some notes. And I know that for some of us, this might be regular information. For others, it might be new. I'm not so sure I've ever heard a particular group of people break it down into these different parts. Usually it's kind of spoken of as a whole, so I've kind of enjoyed the kind of segregated teachings that we've had. But as we close our time there, a study about the Ice Age, I want to just encourage you to open your Bibles to Mark 2:19, and then I'm going to ask for some prayer requests. As you know, this was our challenge for this week was, as a church, to take some time for fasting. I don't know if you did or did not, or how many of you succeeded or did not succeed, or how long that you went. I did hear we had a couple folks that did not feel well, and there's a number of things to learn about it. I hope, I recognize the kind of irony of asking or preaching about being secret about fasting, and then, kind of fasting as a church. And I had a conversation or two about that over the course of the last week. This was really, for me, it was an opportunity for those who have never done it, who maybe have just always thought about it, to just see if they could stretch themselves, maybe if they knew that we're doing it together, that they would exercise that muscle, you know. And I believe that for some that might be a new thing. You know, even as a young child, that was a common thing in our family, and it's not maybe normative where you are. When we fast, we open fasting with prayer. Our time of fasting, there's way more prayer and Bible reading and time with the Lord, and we close it with prayer. And so when we break our fast, we will sit down and pray, and it's important, I think, to have particular requests. We had some particular people we're praying for this church and for our direction and our personal growth. I've heard that people fasted from everything from doom scrolling to and from or social media to food, or maybe some were on a liquid diet, some just took broth. And whatever it is that you did, I do hope that you prayed, that you spent some extra time this week praying for those that are in need. And I'm not sure where everybody is, but I hope you'll take that exercise, you know, and this will be something that you can draw from. There are many times in my life when something came in or someone was in great and dire need, and I needed to fast and pray for that person. I believe that, and the Lord led me to do that. And I hope that you'll take the exercise, you know, or the process you've had here, and you'll use that throughout the course of your life in ministry to others. For those of you that didn't make it, don't feel bad. If you say, man, I failed at day 2, it happens. A lot of us have started and begun. This is not a religion, you lose your salvation, right? It's an exercise for us, and it really was. And for those of you that are veterans, maybe fasting is something that you do, but you couldn't do it right now with us because of your work schedule, and I totally understand that. I've been there. But I'm very fortunate to have a job where fasting doesn't really bother my job at all, like it might somebody else's. But maybe I had one person just basically say, look, you working with chainsaws all week, I cannot be fasting. And I said, I agree, you should not be. You should definitely be safe. And so, but we've chosen this time as a church to kind of break this time of prayer. I hope wherever you've been or whatever you've been doing, you've been praying and you've been taking some extra time for the Lord. And I would like to take some prayer requests. But before that, I'd like to read something, because I think that in our culture, where we're not very religious, we've lost this exercise or this norm. So let's read. 19 is where we're going, but let's look at 18. And it says in verse number 18, and the disciples of John and of the Pharisees used to fast. Okay? When you hear a statement like that, the disciples of John and the Pharisees used to fast, what does that say to you? Not doing it anymore? Okay, so maybe this is a normative behavior in some cultures and not in others, or at some times and not at others. Obviously, before Jesus Christ, or the time of Pharisees when Jesus was here, there was a lot of religious nonsense going on, right? Silliness, and it was very common for them to fast. I think some people said they fasted 3 times a week. You hear that? Fasted. I was trying to figure out, what does that even mean? Do they miss one meal 3 times a week, and I think that makes them holy? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that works. I talked to somebody the other day, or I heard about somebody actually. We were having a conversation. They said, hey, I knew this person, and they fast every Sunday after church through Monday. So it was just like their ritual or whatever. So it was a normative thing for some people and cultures. And they said that when they saw that the disciples of Jesus were not fasting, they asked this question: why do the disciples of John and of the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast? And Jesus said unto them, can the children of the bride chamber fast while the bridegroom is with them? And as long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast. He says here in these words, though, but the days will come when the bridegroom will be taken away from them, then shall they fast in those days. And so, for everything, there's a season and a time, and I think that for some Christians, there's a belief that fasting is no longer useful, it does not work, and I think Jesus is very clear that even though they did not fast while he was there, when he was gone, that was going to be something we're going to see in those days again. And so I would encourage you to remember this time, to take opportunities when something comes up in your life, a big decision, when your friend is in need, when somebody you love is in the hospital, when you're not sure what to do, when you're floundering, I would encourage you to take the time to fast and to pray. Because the core of fasting is not just not eating, it's the elimination of self-fulfillment to focus on the Lord, right? And I hope that you'll take that to heart. And now we'd like to break our fast with a time of prayer. Does anybody have any special prayer requests? This may be one special prayer request you've been praying for personally all week. Maybe you might even have a praise. And I recognize this is kind of fresh. Maybe nothing happened during your fast, and that's fine. It was kind of engineered, okay? And most of those things will happen more naturally in your life normally. But maybe you have a praise. Maybe God answered a prayer already from you. We would like to hear that. So if anybody has a prayer request tonight, we'll open up with that. Yeah?